Hello everyone and welcome back to Learning Buddhism, understanding correctly, practicing correctly, based on the teachings of Sakyamuni Buddha. Lesson 3. What creates suffering? In the previous lesson, we reflected on something very close to everyday life, suffering. Suffering is not always dramatic pain or major tragedy. Often it appears in subtle forms, a little irritation, a little disappointment, a small feeling that something is not quite right. Sometimes we are having a good day, and then a single unpleasant comment changes our mood immediately. Sometimes we wait for a message that never comes, and anxiety quietly appears. Or we are focused on something important, and someone interrupts us, creating frustration right away. These things may seem trivial, but if we observe carefully, they happen constantly throughout daily life. When we begin to look deeply, we realize that these uncomfortable feelings do not appear randomly. There is always a cause behind them, and today's lesson is about seeing more clearly what truly creates suffering. If we observe carefully, whenever discomfort appears, there is usually a reaction in the mind behind it. Either we want something to happen and it does not happen, or we do not want something to happen, yet it still happens. For example, we want others to understand us, but they misunderstand us. We want respect, but someone treats us badly. We want our work to go smoothly, but problems keep arising. On the other hand, there are things we strongly do not want but still must face: criticism, financial loss, misunderstanding, sickness, or simply an exhausting day. Whenever these things happen, tension, frustration, or disappointment often arise inside. Looking more deeply, we can see one common pattern. Behind these reactions, there is always either wanting or not wanting. We want things to go our way. We want to keep what we like. We want to push away what we dislike. And when reality does not follow those desires, suffering begins to appear. In Buddhism, the state of wanting to hold on to things is called craving or attachment. The state of resisting or rejecting unpleasant experiences is called aversion or anger. Craving is not only about money or material things, it can be very subtle. We may want recognition, love, comfort, smooth situations, or for people to behave according to our expectations. Even wanting others to think exactly like us can become a form of attachment. Aversion is not only shouting or visible anger. Sometimes it's just silent irritation, inner resistance, disappointment, or dislike towards something. These two states happen constantly, almost all day long, but because they are so familiar, we rarely notice them. We wake up wanting the day to be pleasant. We go outside wanting no traffic. We work wanting everything to succeed smoothly. We talk wanting others to understand us. We post something online wanting attention or approval. We help someone wanting appreciation. When things go according to our expectations, the mind feels pleasant. But as soon as reality moves slightly away from those wishes, discomfort appears. What is interesting is that sometimes the external situation itself is not very serious, yet because the mind clings so strongly to it, suffering becomes much bigger. Two people may receive the same criticism. One person hears it and lets it go. The other keeps thinking about it all day, loses sleep, and suffers for many days afterwards. The difference is not entirely in the words of criticism themselves, but in the degree of attachment inside each person. This does not mean we must become emotionless or stop feeling. Buddhism does not teach people to become cold like a stone, or cucumber, if you prefer it that way. What we need to see is this: suffering often arises when the mind tightly clings to what it likes or strongly resists what it dislikes. The stronger the attachment, the stronger the suffering. Sometimes we suffer not because of the situation itself, but because the mind keeps repeating, "This should not be happening." We want life to always feel comfortable, but life is constantly changing. Someone who loves us today may change tomorrow. A stable job today may become difficult later. Good health today cannot be guaranteed forever. If the mind keeps demanding that everything remain exactly as we want, suffering will eventually come. That is why the Buddha did not only speak about suffering, but also pointed out its cause. When we don't see the cause, we usually believe suffering comes entirely from outside, from other people, from circumstances, from life itself. But when we observe more deeply, we begin to see that much of suffering is created by our own inner reactions. The same situation can feel very different when the mind is less attached. Understanding this is a very important step in practice, not to blame ourselves, but to recognize that suffering has causes, and once the causes are seen clearly, transformation becomes possible. If we never see the cause, we will spend our entire lives trying to control the external world while ignoring our own minds. In Buddhism, observing the mind is extremely important. Only by seeing clearly what is happening inside can we begin to truly understand ourselves. Many people spend their whole lives looking outwards, rarely examining their own reactions, but someone who practices observation gradually realizes, whenever I suffer, there is usually some form of wanting behind it. Wanting approval, wanting love, wanting control, wanting to avoid discomfort. And once we begin to see that clearly, awareness starts to arise. Now that we've understood this, let's move on to the practice section. Today, whenever you notice discomfort or irritation, pause for a few seconds and ask yourself, what do I want right now? Or what do I want to resist right now? You don't need a perfect answer, you don't need long analysis, just honestly observe. You may notice very simple things, such as, I want this person to speak more gently, or I don't want to be interrupted, or I want things to move faster, or I don't want to be criticized. Simply recognizing this is already enough to begin seeing that behind emotions there is often a hidden wanting or not wanting. This is the first step towards understanding the mind. If you can recognize this just a few times in one day, that is already a very meaningful step, because at that moment you are no longer just seeing suffering, you are beginning to see the root of suffering. That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again in the next lesson.